the institutions that control the financial system, they're purposefully making it complicated. France just decided to debase their currency by literally 50%. So people woke up and all of the money that they had was worth half of it. And in the 2008 financial crisis, France used some of the money from these central banks in order to pay and bail out the banks that they were bailing out at that. So, they took the money that didn't belong to them only because they were the custodians of that money.
Pierre,
hey,
welcome.
Kyle.
Thanks for making time.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. Happy to be able to talk about all the stuff I do, I guess.
That's what we're going to do, and I'm especially excited about this because we're going to talk about filmmaking, storytelling in Bitcoin, as well as entrepreneurship and building businesses in Bitcoin. So just to get us started, give us a little background on who you are, what you do, and specifically Flash, but also the storytelling side and the filmmaking. I'd love to just get a full picture.
Yeah, so cool. So I used to be a management consultant in tech, and I quit my job in 2021 because I wanted to focus on Bitcoin. What did it mean? I didn't really know. I could code, but I thought it's only for, very hardcore developers to be able to code in the Bitcoin space, which was a big mistake, actually. I now see that there's just a lot of normal web development as well. So I had the skills from the start. But, it took 3 months of just figuring out what I want to do. And in this time, while I was hanging out at my parents' place, south of France, it was summer. I was helping them paint the house and so 3 months of this kind of chill. And while doing these things, I was just listening to a lot of Bitcoin podcasts and a lot of stuff, more than I even used to, and more than I do now. Now I very much stopped listening to a lot of content, and essentially, in that process. I listened to a podcast where there was Greg Foss and Dylan Leclerc. It was What Bitcoin Did podcast, and they were talking about an article that Dylan Leclerc had written that was essentially an analysis of Ray Dalio's video, How the Economic Machine Works. And it was very interesting, and Dylan Leclerc's article was, I think the context of it was very interesting to read, but it was missing a lot of actual data. And I thought that there's a great story there because it allows to really understand how central banks work and how Bitcoin would fit inside of that. And so I started just doing a bunch of research about it and doing a lot of looking for data, putting this data all together. I did a lot of data science, so kind of matching all of these sources together. And I thought, okay, let's make a film. I think there's a story here. And so I spent 7 months making this film. So it's The Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin. That is now one of the most watched Bitcoin documentaries at over 2.5 million views on YouTube. Worked on a second documentary film, still in production, delayed production because it's just tough to juggle all of these things. And co-founded the Bitcoin Film Fest. The third edition was just actually last weekend, so a couple days ago.
In Warsaw.
Mm-hmm. Poland. So third edition, very cool. And and I'm also the CEO and founder of Flash, which is a payment gateway software provider that is fully non-custodial and free to get started with. So that's a big summary. A lot of stuff to dig into.
Yes, and the first thing I want to dig into is how did you decide to get off the sidelines and start building in Bitcoin? That's the pivotal moment that I came to about 18 months ago. It sounds like you came to it 2021 timeframe, painting houses in the south of France. Was there an aha moment, other than that podcast? What got you to be I'm personally going to take action?
I was getting bored at work. First of all, it just wasn't interesting anymore. I just preferred spending my time reading about Bitcoin, understanding a bit more. I had this realization that I think it's the most important invention or discovery, however you call it, in my lifetime. And so, but I think this is worth spending my time on. And if everyone is going to be, or rather, if I believe that everyone is going to be somehow on a Bitcoin standard in the future, well, then it's, of course, a lot of opportunity there. And I think just a pretty interesting problem to try and solve. So it took a while, obviously, but I think everything was so as I said, I was a management consultant and I changed project. I was working for Microsoft. That was my last project at Accenture, and it was the dream project for consultants. a lot of big data, automating processes, all this kind of stuff for a company like Microsoft. And I was kind of thinking, okay, this is cool. That's kind of the kind of project that I was building my career for. And 2 weeks in, I just I really wasn't interested in it. And like, what goal would I achieve if I could save a couple $1,000,000 for a company like Microsoft by automating their accounting processes? What difference does it make to me and to like the rest of the world? And so I told my boss, like, I think I can't do it. I don't want to do this. And he said, okay, but like the problem is with the project, like you want to find something that's going to be tough to find something better. And I said, yeah, no, I actually I want to quit. I just want to like find my own way. Yeah.
Very interesting. I had a internship during college with a company similar to Accenture. It's called Avanade. They do this. It's actually a joint venture between Microsoft and Accenture. So I got a taste of that life for 3 months. Didn't even have to really do the work. I was an intern, but I every single day asked myself, if I had this job full time, would I enjoy it? And I realized I would be thinking about leaving every single day. Like,
yeah, that's I understand that.
Yeah,
like,
it's just you're looking at the clock, and to your point, like you found something you were interested in, and you just naturally gravitated towards it. I think a lot of people have fear around quitting their job and taking the leap, and now going and starting things. First of all, filmmaking, not a very lucrative business to get into.
No,
it sounds like Flash could be something really big. So talk to me about going from filmmaking more towards building a product and services. So what are you guys offering, and why did you build the product ultimately?
So I mean, that was a whole journey in itself with multiple pivots here and there. But essentially, I could. So I'm a programmer as well, and
I actually, sorry to interrupt. I really liked what you said about you had this conception or this understanding that it was like development on Bitcoin was only for the hardcore coders. And that's something that I think we're trying with our film that we're making to kind of dispel that myth, is like you can build on Bitcoin with zero coding.
100%. Yeah. And I can even give some tips as to how to get started.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, I was doing all this filmmaking stuff, Bitcoin Film Fest, all of that. And my co-founder is actually a friend from high school. So he also grew up in Poland.
And what's his name
French
again?
High school. He's called Hugo.
Hugo. Okay. I've met him.
And basically we always worked on similar kind of stuff, but never together. But we were good friends since forever. We used to sit at the back of the class together in high school.
I thought you'd be in the front of the class. Come on.
No. I was a very bad student. And so one day he just, we'd often meet just to hang out and talk about work. Mostly in the end, it was like our common thing. And he said, look, Pierre, like you got to come over. I want to show you some stuff. And he started explaining LLMs and how they can be used to like build applications and all this kind of stuff. So it was the moment when OpenAI opened their APIs and kind of we could build stuff. So he explained all of this. He said, like, there's opportunity, we should do something here. So, okay, let's do something, but it's got to be Bitcoin related. I said, anyway, there's opportunity in Bitcoin because, I mean, we're a community that likes sharing stuff. We like new things. We're like, I think there's, for anyone trying to do things in Bitcoin, there's always an audience. And this is pretty nice. Same was true for my film. I knew there was going to be an audience. I wasn't expecting 2.5 million views. My goal was 100K. I would be extremely satisfied. And then it just went a bit further. But because, of course, again, the Bitcoin community, they're like suckers for content, which is great. So a lot of opportunity there. And so what we did was we created this thing called Talk to Satoshi, which was the first AI chatbot that was based off a bunch of Bitcoin books, the transcript of my documentary, and all of the public messages, forum post, emails that we have from Satoshi Nakamoto. And so you would ask it a question, it would go check out all of this content and return an answer as if it was Satoshi. So it buzzed like crazy. In the first week we had like 300 articles written, and that was very, very fun to see.
Great
just
idea.
More people. Like the first day the servers broke. That was very
love that.
exciting. That's like what you want. Now of course, big reason why the servers broke is because we just set it up like very basic, in a very basic way. But anyway, and so what we did then is we added, through LNbits, we added the possibility of receiving donations in sats. So we generate Lightning invoices on the screen. in order to help us cover the cost of the APIs that we were paying for. And I mean, we didn't get many donations. We did get some, which is cool. Thank you, whoever did it. But mostly we realized how easily we can just add the payment requests on a website. And from there, yeah, we were just kind of looking at the intersection, still focusing on AI, but with Lightning and with Nostr. These are the three technologies that we're very interested in. Still are. And so we, from this project, we just abandoned Talk to Satoshi. We realized there's no really business model there. Like, what kind of things can we do on top of it? And so we created a very technical thing, just to be paying for per API call in Lightning, communicating through Nostr to add more like anonymity and just privacy. And that was really cool. A lot of work was put into there, and it was really working. I mean, the demo was pretty amazing. And then the week we soft released, we thought, actually, we got to scratch this. This is too technical. Who's gonna start using that? It's not like Bitcoin is used in a more broad developer community, and so we thought, okay, we need something more simple. The name of this thing was Nostr Eggs, which cool, like there was a bunch of ideas there, but in the end, like we thought we need something more simple, a product that's much more simple, and so we went for the name Flash. That's quite easy to remember. And then the first product we did actually was for content creators, which was the paywall. So we still have the paywall, where essentially you just you take your wallet, you connect it to Flash, because again, Flash is fully non-custodial, and so what we do is you input in a very basic form, and it allows you to create a paywall, and you just take a script, you add it to your website. Very basic, and any website builder supports this too. And simply when one of the pages opens up, well, the first thing that loads is actually the Flash paywall, and you need to scan the QR code, pay for the invoice, and this then closes the paywall. And you can cool. So that was the very first use case we had, and essentially how it works, because this is what we apply for all of our products, is that the Lightning QR code that appears is generated from your wallet, and so it's not that the payment goes to Flash and we route it. No, like the payment request was generated by your wallet directly, and so it's a peer-to-peer payment from the customer to whoever is using the paywall, and this is really cool. And now our business model comes thanks to the tech that we're using, with which we communicate with wallets. That's called Nostr Wallet Connect. So again, Nostr is like really there. It allows for applications to communicate with wallets via Nostr. And one thing that this added, essentially, it's like a shared API among like all of the wallets that are compatible. There's about 10 wallets that are now compatible with Nostr Wallet Connect in different payment networks. Our wallet is a Liquid wallet, and it interacts through Nostr Wallet Connect. There's some Cashew wallets, there's Lightning wallets. So like everything is kind of going around this, and what it adds is the direct debit functionality that didn't exist ever in Bitcoin. So you can easily pull payments from. So the user needs to connect his wallet, and in doing this, he gives the right. I mean, it's optional. You can configure it exactly as you want, but you give the right to the application to interact with your wallet. So it can create a payment request, like invoices. It can view your transactions. It can make payments. You can set a budget for the amount. And so for each of these, you can really choose what you authorize. And each use case can need different things, like accounting tools like Clams. I don't know if you're familiar with them. No. So it's like a tool you can download on your computer, and you can connect your wallet through Nostr Wallet Connect, and they only need to view your transactions. So they don't have access to creating invoices, making payments. They just get the list of your transactions, and they can show all of your accounting, all of the transactions you got, how the value may have increased and or dropped, and so on. And so we use the direct debit feature, which means that in the case of the paywall, and again it's true for all of our tools, if the merchant gets paid, or in this case the content creator gets paid, once he receives the payment directly, we know it because it's through our tools, and we trigger the payment of the fee from his wallet to our wallet, so which is a 1.5% fee, and so it allows it to be fully non-custodial, and it's all back-end payments when it comes to that. So the customer, the person that's paying the paywall, sees just the one transaction, but there's actually a second one that is triggered in the back end automatically. And this is how we get paid, and we allow everything to be self-custodial, non-custodial, because again, it depends on the wallet you use. Some may be custodial, some self-custodial. It really doesn't matter from our perspective, but Flash is non-custodial when it comes to that. And and so we're very unique when it comes to that.
Wow. So who's it built for primarily? So this is for content creators, this one specific thing, but I know you also were talking to me about setting up like a landing page where you can sell products for e-commerce. Do you guys do like physical merchant onboarding, like restaurants and stuff like that? I guess talk to me just generally about where you're building towards the types of people that might use the product.
So we've got products for many different use cases. We think right now we're the platform that has the most revenue solutions for any kind of entrepreneur business. Essentially we have, so for content creators, the first category, so we've got the paywalls. We also have like donation widgets. You can just add a widget on your website, and you can very easily receive such tips, again as a peer-to-peer kind of way. We also have payment links, so this kind of the content creator category. But then we've also got commerce, which is in person. So we have a point of sale. You can create your products, add them to the point of sale. We've, for example, for the Bitcoin Film Fest, we onboarded 5 merchants directly, and they were accepting throughout the entire weekend payments. This is how the event was selling their merch, all of that.
On an app? Or is
so
it
we provided them with some tablets, but essentially from the Flash application, you create a point of sale and it gives you a URL.
Okay.
And you can send this URL literally to anyone. So even we saw a bunch of restaurants, we provided them with a tablet, and they ended up just sending this URL to their employees, and each of them from their phone were capable of easily generating invoices. And so these invoices, because a big problem is how do you do this in self-custody without giving your customers access to your wallet? Because not your customers, your employees access to your wallet. Because it's one thing allowing them to do payment requests, but you don't want them to be able to make payments directly, right? And so this was pretty cool to see. Just the convenience of it made it easier for them to just share the same URL. They would open their phone, access the point of sale, and directly make all of these payment requests, which all would then tracked, so paid into the restaurant's owner's wallet, and also with all of our reporting in the backend that they could leverage.
I think that's a critical thing that you guys built, the accounting and reporting stuff. I just interviewed a guy named Chris Gaida. Do you know him?
No.
But he was talking about how one of the biggest friction points is for onboarding merchants is the accounting, right? Because how am I going to know how much it costs and my cost basis and this and that? So it sounds like this is something it's for someone who's wanting to build a business. You can look at there's the typical, you've got WordPress and Squarespace and things like that. And like someone like myself, very budget conscious, I can set something up with you guys that you take a fee instead of take a regular $30 a month or something like that. How have creators been using it? Like, have you heard a lot of success, pain points? How's it going? Things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, along the way, we've heard a lot of pain points that now most of them are resolved, and we're still working on resolving. So we've heard, because. So it depends what kind of product we're talking about, but we've seen a lot of content creators that just add a payment link so onto their website, and people can just send them donations this way, and they're very, very happy about it. We've and I think for now, content creators, we've mostly seen this use case. Paywall hasn't been that popular, but the donation widgets and the payment links, just an easy place they can redirect users to and accept these tips directly.
Because we're using Geyser.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like almost we didn't need to use Geyser if we had a website that we could just add a payment link for donations.
Yeah. So
or they're different. Geyser provides us like a whole page that we just don't have to set up a website, which is why we used it.
Yeah. And I think that's what's interesting with Geyser, and also there is the network of people that go onto Geyser and
it's all Bitcoiners.
Yes.
I don't think we've gotten a single donation other than people that we drove to the website, which is to be expected. Some of these things they'll say if you get to a certain amount, then we push you onto our page and promote you, whatever. Anyways, crowdfunding, that whole
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
But I am interested in just this idea more generally of like, how is it going for creators? Like, are they really finding success in this like value for value type of concept where instead of like having to pay a subscription to 5 different creators for $10 a month, you can just say, hey, that seems like a cool episode. Let me watch this one special episode behind the scenes or whatever it is, for 100 sats or 1,000 sats or something.
Yeah.
That seems like a use case that is bound to grow because the current like, oh, everybody's just going to be subscribing to all these individual publications and creators. Personally, I'm 30 years old. I've never done that.
Yeah.
But maybe other people that have a bunch of extra money, they're just like, let me be the New York Times and pay Netflix, and all of a sudden you're paying a lot of money every month just for content.
Yeah. So I think, the truth is that both of these need to exist. I think the value for value crowd, I mean, there's a lot of musicians in the Bitcoin space that once they just started adopting the value for value approach to monetizing, they've it really increased the amount of money that they were earning through these things, because at least they're really tapping into the right community that is very much in this spend and replace kind of vision and way of doing things. And so they've had a lot of success when it comes to that, because it's hard as an independent artist when you get started to actually get paid, right? Like the moment you get your first payments, it's you have to be on big platforms. It's very tricky. And you have to build your own brand anyway. So these platforms, in the end, they're just a place where you can show your work and monetize. But in fact, you still need to do all the work yourself. And you might as well do the work yourself for your own platform and get paid directly on your own platform, right? Like there's no need to redirect people to Spotify. It's only done because, the music industry cartel is built this way. But in fact, you can host all of this yourself. And we help with that. We've had content creators create their stores to sell merch, because we have a hosted store completely. You can, of course, we've seen podcasters also that were using Shopify and they connect their Shopify store to Flash using our plugin. So we've kind of seen everything, but we're seeing pretty good traction when it comes to our hosted store, because you literally create an account on Flash, it's free. You create your product, and then these products you can attach them to a point of sale, but you can also attach them to a store. Manages inventory fully. You don't need to worry about that at all. And then that's just, you have a branded, it's almost white labeled store with your own logo, your own name. You have your own really images, and this is working pretty nicely, especially to target the Bitcoin community directly. So we've seen quite good traction when it comes to that. But subscriptions is something else that we provide, actually. This is more, of course, platform oriented. I mean, it can be for anyone. That's the thing, because, again, there's no KYC. Like, you get started directly because you're just automating payments to your own wallet, right? And we never touch your money, so there's no KYC. You get started in 5 minutes. And we do have subscriptions. And so you can create a subscription, have different plans. This gives you a checkout page, and your customers, they can just connect their wallet to your subscription, and we can trigger these monthly automatic recurring payments. I mean, monthly, we also have weekly, daily, like whatever you want. And these payments, they're also peer-to-peer payments, right? Like it's from the customer to the merchant. And so, and then, you can receive it as like just recurring donations, but there's all of the back-end setup that can be added to be able to, just like Stripe and other big, platforms do it in the traditional world, where they send webhook events and you can just manage your backend then. So we're the only ones to provide that, because again, direct debit didn't exist in Bitcoin until recently. Wow. And so now we can build this, and I think anyone can actually integrate it into anything, including some content creator, musician. I mean, whatever it is, can add it onto their. I mean, now it's very easy to build with AI. It's the kind of stuff, so standard way of doing it that anyone could like add their own subscriptions to their own website, and I think it wouldn't take more than 2 hours, even for a non-experienced person. I think, just based on our documentation and stuff. So that's that's a very nice use case that we're also trying to push some more. But it's an interesting one, because no one is used to that. Like, I mean, and if you think about it, when you make a payment in Bitcoin, you're used to scanning a QR code. In the subscription, there's no scanning QR code.
It's just happening.
You have to connect your wallet. In fact, actually, so the Flash wallet is from next month going to have full support for our subscriptions. And so you do scan a QR code, but that's only to connect to establish this connection between your wallet and the application, right? And then the wallet is connected. The moment when you actually make the purchase for the subscription is when you click a button that is, confirm subscription, right?
Yeah.
And so the payment is a back-end payment that you don't need to trigger. And
is it pretty easy to cancel the subscription?
So that's what's great is that, well, of course you can cancel it directly through Flash, but you don't even need to worry about that because in your wallet you have full control over these connections. And so you don't ever need to go and like cancel the subscription. You just need to go on your wallet and disconnect. Okay. And that's it. And we will try to, get the payment next time it's scheduled, but it'll just reject it and we can't get the funds because it's always the wallet that signs the transaction, right? So we're just sending a message to the wallet and saying, hey, there's this invoice that should be paid, and then it's up to the wallet to decide whether or not it pays for it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
So you stay in control. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it makes sense that this would exist in Bitcoin because it exists and it's been very successful in Web 2, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was telling you I started a supplement company and we were so focused. We hired a web design expert, growth marketing, whatever. And they were like, you can't put a single unit for sale on your website. You have to force everybody to the subscription. And then in the bottom corner, there's a I just want one button. Because it's basically like, what do they call it? Like converting people to subscription is so much more valuable, especially if you're trying to raise money. If you can say to an investor, look, we have 1,000 subscribers, you can project into the future the revenue and things like that. So from a business perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense. But from a user perspective, it's functionality people use. As much as I was just hating on subscriptions, I mean, we all have them. There's this thing called Rocket Money that everybody's got they say $700 on average or whatever. It's marketing, but people have all these subscriptions that they don't know about. So I'm always curious, like how easy the user interface is, and that was a problem that we had was customers would get mad because they all of a sudden got a charge that they weren't expecting. So I think the key with subscription is just being very transparent. Like you're getting a charge on this day, cancel before. I listen to some podcasters that'll literally say, sign up for the free trial, and if you don't like it, cancel. Like, please cancel, because they're not trying to like scam people. They're just like, if you support us, great. Anyways, I want to go back to ask you a question about your film about the international banking system.
Yeah.
Anything that you came across, like what's something, I guess the question is, what's something most of us believe about money and the international banking system that you disagree with or would correct?
Well, I mean, I think it's maybe hard to just find like one item like that. But generally speaking, it's is that we're not in control at all at any point. And I think Bitcoiners generally know that quite a bit. But it's just the institutions that control the financial system, they're purposefully making it complicated. And now us in the Western developed world, we have pretty good payment experiences, and I think different nations lead the way when it comes to that. But so many different places do not have access to it, and it's all made on purpose. Like the KYC rules for when you create a bank account, that's some guy in Switzerland that says, this is the rule that should be shared all around the world. And it ends up being too costly for a lot of third world people to get such bank accounts. I mean, even beyond that, there's countries where people don't have addresses, like just a concept they don't have because they never needed it. But so because of that, they can't get bank accounts, which is very limiting. And it's all by design in the end. And these institutions that are supposed to help the world, well, they're actually just literally colluding in order to get their way around and be able to control third world countries better than they used to. And there's a lot of examples like that are pretty fascinating to read about, understand, and feel guilty about too, because it's so I'm part French, and of course France was a huge colonizer and still are in the Central African region, because they have the CFA franc. The CFA franc is controlled in Paris, and still today. And so it's really, there's these multiple layers of banking levels, but also of these higher level institutions. And the IMF is pretty bad because it hooks everyone on the US dollar and forces everyone to just have this debt and repay this debt and always rebuy dollar to pay this debt. But France, when the IMF was being set up for this purpose, the General de Gaulle was very insistent to make sure that France keeps control of the CFA region, and created this extra bit that is worse than the IMF because it's an extra layer of control on top of the IMF, right? And so there's all these stories like that just make you realize that people don't have options, and Bitcoin really solves that. We hire one of our developers is from Nigeria. And great guy. He finished the B-Trust program, and really, was very skilled already in all the technology that we're using. It would have been impossible for us to hire him if it wasn't for Bitcoin, because how would we ever pay him? Like, impossible to send a monthly transfer like that to Nigeria in a convenient way, whereas Bitcoin makes this super easy.
That's really powerful, man. I was telling somebody, I think on the recent podcast, that I tried to hire some editors. I did hire some editors from Pakistan, and they told me that Bitcoin is so, crypto in general is so clamped down on that she can't accept Bitcoin. So I was like, so what are we going to use? Oh, we're going to use Wise. Wise takes 8% minimum. That's the reality. To your point, the financial privilege that we have in the West, where we look at the world, and many Americans do this. Maybe if outside of America is different, but we project on to the rest of the 7 billion people what life is like here. And that's why Bitcoin is a store of value in the U.S. It's less so seen that way. It's actually being utilized for things like cross-border payments. So that's fantastic. And then great bit. Not many people know that. I had heard that about the CFA. So my understanding, tell me if I'm understanding correctly, the whole Central African region, a bunch of countries, do you know how many? 14 countries are subject to not only the debasement of the US dollar currency, but also the French can print the shit out of the CFA currency. And they have. And I don't know the numbers, but I've seen they've been debased. It's just been brutal. And that's stealing people's time. That's the word slavery, right? It's a hot word, but it's really not a bad description.
100%. So the whole CFA region is 14 countries. It's about 200 to 250 million people, and there's two regions. There's the Western CFA and the Eastern CFA, and they have two separate central banks. But both of these central banks, they answer to, let's say, the higher level central bank that is in Paris, and multiple times. So I think it was in 94 or 92, one of the two, where France just decided to debase their currency by literally 50%. So people woke up and all of the money that they had was worth half of it. And in the 2008 financial crisis, France used some of the money from these central banks in order to pay and bail out the banks that they were bailing out at that. So, they took the money that didn't belong to them only because they were the custodians of that money. And it goes even deeper than that. If you're one of the CFA countries and you want to be able to do some trade with, let's say China, you want to sell your coffee to China. Well, first, you can't do that. You have to first ask France, do you want more coffee? And if not, can we sell it to China? And only then, and the payment has to go through France. And so France takes their commission twice because it has to be in euro, and so they get commission just for the transaction, and then they get a conversion fee to change it to CFA and then send it over to the country. This is crazy. I think it's, the fact that there's and in France, people they don't see that, they don't understand it. It's always. But it would be so much worse if we weren't in the region. What are you talking about?
We say the same thing.
It's crazy. And you see that now there's such a big hate towards France in these countries because, I get it. After decades of this, I think it can't just, it can't work longer.
It's really heavy, honestly. I have a quote here. I wrote one of my favorite essays in college. It was on just how attitudes towards monetary exchange, market exchange, have changed over time. And I came across this quote. It stuck in my head. It just came up when you were talking, so let me read it real quick. It's a Mayor Nathan Rothschild quote. "The few who understand the banking system will either be so interested in its profits or be so dependent upon its favors that there will be no opposition from that class. while on the other hand, the great body of people, mentally incapable of comprehending the tremendous advantage that capital derives from the system, will bear its burdens without complaint and perhaps without even suspecting that the system is inimical to their interests. So like these people set this system up in a way that the intellectual, wealthier people with capital, they can all win. So they're not going to complain. And then the people that don't understand it, literally, it's like, it's complex. Like what you're talking about, there's layers to the banking system and countries. Like I was born in 94, so there's stuff that was impacting my life like decades before I was born. So I got to catch up to learn even about what's going on. So that's a very difficult thing for people that can barely even think about next week's paycheck, right?
No, and I think also it's kind of by design. I mean, I have a master's degree in finance, and I can tell you we didn't learn about this kind of stuff like at all. It's just, you know, and I know that even if you study economy like that, that's just not what you learn in class, which is crazy. And so it's all by design. I think it's just you know, to focus on the surface of the topic. But when you start digging deeper, it's I mean, I don't know, but Central and Latin America, so they have, of course, their local banks, but there's also the like regional banking cartels, and there's multiple, and so there's also multiple layers of that. And of course they use a lot of US dollar, right? And so if you're using a local bank, well, then, and you want to make an international transfer, or whatever transfer, in fact, in US dollar, well, then it's going to be very expensive, and it's going to take a lot of time for them, because every single US dollar payment needs to be cleared by a US bank. Yeah. So it's going to go from your local bank, but not even directly to the first US bank, because it needs to go up the ladder from local to the national group to the regional group of banks, and then it's going to be cleared by a US bank. And along the way, everyone takes a fee. And so it takes time, because they all need to confirm the transaction, essentially, and take their own fee. And so it makes it just very, very complicated. Whereas, you know, we live so much easier. I can send money to someone in the US like this. Like there's no issue whatsoever. And from the US to Europe, same thing, right? So I don't know. There's just these levels that just seem very unfair and only work to our advantage, basically.
How does it feel building a product that tries to solve this problem? Like what's the feeling inside of you?
I mean, it feels good. Yeah, like and
yeah, let's go.
You know, in the end, it's removing intermediaries is basically what we're trying to do. You know, if you think how traditional payment processors work today, essentially you pay the payment processor, and then you're allowed to withdraw after like they cut their fees and all
to
this
an
stuff.
account that then you have to ask another third party if you can withdraw.
Yeah. When in fact, why? Why does it even work this way? And I mean, I know why. The reason is all because of custody, and there was no way around custody, especially for digital payments. And I mean, and you see a lot of the payment processors in the space as well are custodians, and they're just reproducing the same model that used to exist, and because that's the easiest way to capture fees. Now there's technology that allows us to do it differently, just like how we're using it, allowing for these instant peer-to-peer payments from customer to merchant, and then being able to trigger a fee. That is the service fee, and how we get paid allows us to just avoid custody forever. I mean, why would we ever do that? Like, everyone should be in control of their own money. And for merchants, there's a lot of benefits, right? Because they don't have cashback issues, for example. Because once you receive payment, you receive payment. There can be the whole process. Chargeback. Yes.
I was explaining this to people. So if you send somebody, and this happened to me on Facebook Marketplace, I sold some shades from the window for $50 on Venmo, and 6 weeks later, I opened Venmo and it says -50 in my account, because the person that I sold it to contacted their bank and said it was a fraudulent transaction. So this is it's multiple percentage points. I might be wrong, but it's not an insignificant percentage of revenue for every single e-commerce business and in-person businesses. But so yes, it solves that problem, because there is no third party. It's final settlement when you send the funds. Last thing I'll say, and I'll give it back to you, is when I talk to people that are like hardworking business owners, farmers or hairdressers, whatever, like you work for yourself, the thing I say to them is, like, you can get all technical with Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, I should be able to just give you all the value that I want for the service or product that you're providing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end of story. So I think that narrative is just like, for someone who works hard for their money, I can get more of my money instead of having this other guy that I don't even know who it is take a cut just because I have to accept payment in this way. So I before we move on too much, actually, unless you have something more on this, I just cut you off.
No. I think generally speaking, that's I think chargeback is a big one, but also being able to not not rely on them to be able to withdraw these funds, because the thing is that since they're a custodian, they need to have all of the KYC and anti-money laundering processes, which is extremely expensive. Obviously, will always be leaner than custodians, because custodians have to have all of their staff trained and like all these extra processes. So it helps us to have our fees trend towards zero, and that's industry wide, of course. But also, there is no situation in which we would tell a merchant, you can't have your money. I mean, first of all, technically we can't, because we never, right? Yeah. So
all you could do is say you can't use our service anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's like Nostr, right?
Like yeah.
And so for someone who's like, I hear a lot of hype about Bitcoin and AI and the connection there, but you're bringing in Nostr, this third part of this game, if you will.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about why you're bullish on Nostr?
Yeah. So I think where I see most of the value in Nostr, and and that's changing all the time. The more I think about it and the more we use it. But basically, user management, shared user management. Like, it's really great that, if you have a Nostr account, you can come to Flash and you can log in directly. You already have an account, because we support Nostr as login method. Of course, also email and password, which is what most people use. But this shared account part is, I think, what's pretty exciting. So we can work with other companies that also use Nostr, because now there's a lot of Bitcoin companies and like wallets, they add also Nostr identification, and so it allows you to go from one platform to the other very easily. And so this one I'm very, very bullish on, because I think, especially with partner companies, well then, we can redirect a user to another service. If they also use Nostr as user management, well, the user can be redirected already logged in, right? And I think that's very interesting, because you can like link all of the data directly. And so every single row of information that we have in our database about users is linked to their user public key, right? Which means that, in a world where we want to open up data as much as possible, well, you'd be able to see all of this information from different platforms. I think it's very, very interesting. And also Nostr Wallet Connect in itself. So that's the tech that we use that allows to communicate with wallets through Nostr events. And this, I mean, again, it's a shared API that every single wallet that is integrated with it, we just use one line of code and we interact the same way with all of them, right? And this is very, very exciting. And it brings direct debits into Bitcoin, which, again, like most of the payments that you do day to day, they're direct debit payments where, a MasterCard, Visa, American Express, I mean, whatever, they can take money from your account and allow you to pay someone directly, including like recurring payments and all. It's just extremely convenient. And it brings one-click payments kind of thing. So, very bullish on that. But then, another thing is that for Flash to be successful, merchants need to actually earn, right? And so we're also trying to figure out the right ways to simplify that. So, getting started with Flash, I think, is the easiest way to start accepting payments in Bitcoin, because you can start with a zero amount wallet that is automatically connected to Flash. You just then kind of forget about it, set up your Shopify store, and it's free. So just whenever you get a payment, this is the moment you pay, right? But there's no setup fee, nothing, like no monthly fee. So it's very simple to get started with it. But the thing is, how do we help merchants then actually make sales? And on Nostr, there are some people, monthly users that are really quite active and that they choose to stop using other social networks to use Nostr, and a lot of them are Bitcoiners. They are potential customers for merchants that come to Flash. And so, we're trying to figure out how could we also allow, if someone creates their store, well, automatically generate a post that they can just with one click send it over on Nostr and say, hey, we're accepting Bitcoin payments now, and us trying to target the community directly that could be the first target and the first customer for them. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity with Nostr there. The fact that, you can have your business account that you created through Flash, and you can directly use to communicate on Nostr. I think it's a nice intersection that just never existed up until the existence of Nostr, right?
Well, I love how the incentives align so much. Like, your guys' incentive is for your merchants to make more money. Yeah. So your merchant's incentive is to sell more sell more goods. And one thing I really like that you said earlier is that by aligning your business with the values of your customer, if your values are aligned with your customers, aka being around Bitcoiners, and you're able to tap into the Bitcoin network and build something that actually provides value for these people, they will support you more so than a fiat world where it's kind of a dog eat dog world. I've noticed Bitcoiners, when they see a product that they, they'll be an ambassador for it. And I really think that if the alignment between Nostr and social media and e-commerce, it's an obvious connection to make. And so I got a roommate who's a glass blower. He's an artist. And I'm like, man, you got to get that Bitcoin, accept Bitcoin payments. And he makes, I'll give one to you actually after this. He makes pendants with a Bitcoin logo. We had this guy from Phoenix. I paid him in Bitcoin. He made a custom Bitcoin logo stamp for blowing glass.
Oh, wow.
And then my roommate's a glass blower, so I gave it to him and I said, go crazy. So he made me some cups and stuff. Anyways, I just love how you can tap into the power of this network, not necessarily to be a coder, but just to do your art or your craft or your business. So
there's the amount of things, so more related to the Bitcoin Film Fest, the amount of artists that come over, because of course it's all about Bitcoin film and what creatives are doing in that space, but there's also art gallery, people selling their art. I even bought myself this year very nice big drawing paintings, poster format, a representation of Warsaw, and with the Bitcoin Film Fest. And there's a lot of it's just very, very nice by Bitpop Art. He's on Twitter on Nostr.
Shout out
Bitpop. Very, very, very nice. And just a lot of these artists, there's just Bitcoiners are so passionate about their thing, and there's so many different ways of expressing this passion. It can be building applications that bring utility, or it can be through art, because it's a great way to send messages. That's what we're trying to do with the Bitcoin Film Fest. Is it's so much easier to get someone to sit down in a dark room, watch a film that's an hour and a half, taking this content at kind of his own rhythm, without having some Bitcoiner yelling at him that Bitcoin forever and the death of fiat. And it's much more laid back kind of way of orange pilling people, and that's true of films, but it's true of art as well. And a lot of people around me, when I tell them about the Bitcoin Film Fest, first of all they go, "What? There's a film fest about Bitcoin?" I say, "Yeah," and then I tell them about all of the creatives and the art and what everything is building, and they can't believe it. But it shows the intersection of passions and how Bitcoin awakens this in people. It's just very interesting to observe. I don't know other communities that are so strong when it comes to that, and it's because we're building the freaking future here, and it's all better for everyone. It'll be better for everyone once we'll be in that future we're building today.
Can't think of a better way to wrap up here. Thank you so much, man. Powerful words. And I'm sure I could talk to you more about cultural narratives and storytelling and all that stuff. We'll save it for another time. Where can people keep in touch with you, follow you on Twitter? Where else? Obviously, Nostr.
Yeah, well, so I'm not that big on Nostr, but you can find me, obviously.
Let's pump those numbers.
Yeah.
Follow me on Nostr, too. I need more followers on Nostr.
Yeah.
Someone sent me a zap the other day for 500 sats. Made my freaking day.
Nice. Yeah,
amazing.
That is awesome. Yeah, so, you can find me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. Just search for Pierre Corbin, and you'll find me. I'm on LinkedIn as well, but Nostr too. You can find me on Nostr directly by searching for my name. And also just go check out Flash. Go on our website, paywithflash.com, and just check it out. It's free. Just try it out, set up a wallet, and give some feedback. We're just trying to make our platform better. It costs you nothing, so go for it.
I will be doing that. So you got one more. And yes, take you up on that for sure. So thank you, Pierre, for doing what you do. And let's go downstairs and explore this conference.
Let's do it. Yeah.
All
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks, man. All right, that's a wrap on the episode. Thank you guys for watching. If you got any value out of this show, I would love to hear about it. You can tag me on Twitter or Nostr, or just drop a comment below, help spread the message, share this show. And if you haven't already, please leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening to podcasts. It means a ton and it helps grow this show. So on that note, I've been thinking about ways that I can make this more sustainable, monetize the podcast without selling out or, selling you guys something that I don't genuinely believe in. And the way that I'm going to do that is by being transparent and just sharing what I'm working on and giving you guys opportunities to support it if you believe in it. So first off, I'm going to Bulgaria in just a few weeks to make a film called Build on Bitcoin, The Bulgarian Journey. I'll be traveling the country, learning about the different initiatives and telling the Bulgarian story, hopefully inspiring people to go from Bitcoin holders to actually Bitcoin builders. If you're interested in either supporting the project, $89 gets your name listed in the credits of the film, or just following along. We post all of our updates here on Geyser, and this is our Lightning address if you'd like to donate some sats. Secondly, if you're looking to level up your energy, cognition, and focus, I've got the perfect product for you. It's called Earthy Energy. I founded this company, Earthy, in 2023 because I recognized that the supplement industry was shady, was full of crap, was using things like proprietary blends to protect themselves, but actually hurt their customers because their customers are spending money to make themselves healthier. How can they possibly make themselves healthier if they don't know what they're putting in their body? So we recognized that there was an incentive problem here, and we started Earthy with complete ingredient transparency. So we actually tell you, if you can see that, we tell you every single ingredient in the product and where it's from down to the farm level. So in one scoop of Earthy Energy, you're gonna get almost 5 grams of cacao, which gives it the delicious hot chocolate flavor, some cardiovascular benefits, 120 milligrams of guayusa, which is a clean caffeine source from the Amazon. And it's similar to yerba mate. It gives you this long lasting clean energy without a crash. And then functional mushrooms, lion's mane and cordyceps give you a brain, cognition, memory, focus boost with the lion's mane, as well as some immunity. The cordyceps gives you ATP production, which actually improves cardiovascular performance. It's almost like a little performance enhancing drug, if you know what I mean. So if you are looking to level up your work, your workout, whatever you're working on, the goals and dreams that you have in this life they're attainable, but you need the energy to go after them. And I started this company and I believe in this product, so that's why I'm sharing it with you guys. So if you want to try Earthy, the link is down below. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your guys' support. Till next time.